Good morning. This is the Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also find us on Spotify and LinkedIn, we mentioned, and Apple Podcasts. Just about anywhere else. You can also find us at our website, which is behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in Fairview, North Carolina. And each week we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Asheville and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce Lynette Stewart, owner and instructor at Board and Brush Creative Studios in Asheville. And thanks for being my guest today. You can wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, my pleasure. And what's really cool is that behind you, I guess, this is your studio where you work out of?
Yes, it is.
And we'll ask you to talk about that in just a second. But first, I should mention that after 27 years of moving around the world as a U.S. Army family, Lynette Stewart, along with her husband Todd, have settled in North Carolina. In their active retirement, they enjoy do-it-yourself projects, decorating with antiques, and aiding their parents. By bringing Board and Brush Creative Studio to Asheville, they aim to share their passion for home decor and providing a fun, creative community space for others. And as you'll see in just a second, it's really kind of a cool thing you're doing, Lynette. First, I should ask you, you mentioned as a child you grew up as an Army child, I guess, moved around a lot.
Yeah, as an adult, never as a child, but
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, as a child. So as a
Yeah.
child, where'd you grow up?
Well, you'd think my dad was in the Army, so he was in computers. So we moved a couple of times through my childhood, but settled in Charlotte, I would say. And that's where I went to high school, went to college in North Carolina as well.
So when you were going to school in Charlotte area and settling down there, did you always know you wanted to run your own business in helping other people become creative?
No, no. I was in the musical arts. And so I was a band geek. I played several instruments, did marching band, concert band, the whole thing, did that all the way through college. I don't know if I knew what I wanted to do. I changed my major like 4 or 5 times in
Join the
college.
crowd.
Yeah, exactly. So I wish I could have done a gap year, but people didn't do that back then. But yeah, I just knew that I liked being creative, though it wasn't really artistically creative. So yeah, no, this was never on the horizon for me.
So in another life before you started this business, what did you do professionally? Or were you working also?
Yeah, I've mostly been in administrative jobs. I've worked in several churches. I've done with the military, we moved 14 times in 27 years. And so it would be, where are we now? What can I do? And I would just, when we lived in Italy, I delivered newspapers with my toddler in a stroller. I cleaned kitchen floors in Germany. So yeah, you name it. I just plugged myself in wherever we were stationed.
And so you moved eventually to this area. And how long have you lived in this area?
We've been here for 3 years now. My husband is actually a Haywood County native.
Okay. So when you move, so you're living where now?
We're in Haywood County.
Oh, in where? In Haywood County.
Lake Junaluska.
Okay. So when you moved to there, that was 3 years ago. Is that when you got the idea to start this business?
Yeah, before that, our last duty station was in the DC area, and we were customers at a board and brush up there at a couple of them for about 3 years. And every time we would bring a project home, we were like, these are just us. This is our house. This is like a studio is decorated like our home. And when we were getting ready to retire, my husband was like, what can we do that gives us flexibility to still take care of his parents? But yet him enjoy his retirement and get to do some of the fun things he's wanted to do. And Board and Brush just kind of came to the front, and they're very military friendly. And there wasn't anything like that in this area. So we thought we'd take a chance.
Now we should tell folks a little bit about what you and I talked about off the air, in the fact that this is not, I guess, what a lot of people are familiar with. A lot of people in Asheville have do this as well, where they paint something, paint an apple or paint something. So there's some painting, but it's not a painting workshop. Is that correct? What is it exactly?
A lot of people still call it a paint and sip, but instead of using canvas, which is what most people are familiar with, you're painting on wood with stencils. And so instead of freehanding something, which I don't have any talent to do whatsoever, you're basically painting a stencil. So it's going to come out the way it's supposed to come out. There's very few times that it doesn't come out like it's supposed to, but we have magical things we can do to fix it, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, a lot of our projects can be personalized, which is really different too. So you can add names and dates and pets names and your kids' names and things like that to the projects to make it more yours and more your own.
And what do folks come to? I'm sure they do, and say they're not creative, they have no talent. What do you tell them?
I said, trust the process. And yeah, exactly. Just trust the process. My husband will be the first person to say, if I can do this, anybody can do it. So yeah, we are an instructor-led DIY workshop. So every single step, we have got instructors and table assistants leading you and helping you through the whole thing. So yeah, by the end of the night, everybody's like, I can't believe this worked out. I can't believe I made this. So it's always so much fun.
And I'm smiling because, yeah, I'm thinking the same kind of thing. I can never do this. But talk a little about even the process, Lynette. And if you would,
Yeah.
even behind you, it's kind of cool that
Yeah.
you have looks like a whole bunch of different tools and people use these tools.
Yes. And that's always one thing that's really neat. I'll get people in here and they're like, oh, my husband never lets me touch his tools. And I'm so excited to get to hammer or use the drill or something. And so, yeah, all the stuff you see behind me, we use in all of our workshops. The main part of the first part of our workshop is you want to create something that's old, rustic farmhouse. That's kind of what the style of our projects are. And so we let them just what we call distress, beat it up. They hammer it. They use chicken wire. They use nails and screws and stuff and just kind of, what you would call damage the wood. And then the next step would be to sand it down, make it kind of smooth on the edges, and then they get to stain it. And when they stain it, all those fun distress marks that they made just like pop, and it just adds character, and it's just a lot of fun for the wood. So they get to pick out, we have several stains. You'll see those up behind me, they can pick from, and then they slap their stencil on there and they start painting away, and they get to pick from, we have 80+ paint colors that they can choose from.
So describe it then. So I come and I have no idea what I'm doing, and you tell me, sort of give me an idea of what I'm doing. And so do you have, I don't know if you have it handy, do you have a picture of a board that beat up or a sample board that you can show people before they do the work?
I do. Let me grab it.
Thank you.
So this is what we use in a lot of our workshops. So we have like the hammer on here and what the little knots look like. We use bottle caps as well. There's some screws in here too. Here's like the chicken wire. You can see the little indentions that it makes. And again, some more of what the hammer marks and stuff look like. So instead of it being just like this, which, the knots and stuff are great in the wood, but when you add all these fun things on it, it really creates some fun character to the wood. And people get creative. They'll do like stuff all around the edge, or they'll create little rainbow areas. So they have a lot of fun with the distressing.
So even if they've never done this before, you'll guide them through the process?
Pretty much. I have a few regulars that when they come, I'll put them at their own table, and literally I can let them kind of go and work on their own. But you have to come several times before I feel confident enough to kind of let you do that. Most of the time it's all together. We work through the process. There's a few places where somebody can skip ahead, but for the most part, we stick together.
And how long does the process take?
It's about 3 hours. Yeah. We have two different types of workshops, and one's more like 2 hours. It's called a time crunch mini sign. And then we have our main project workshop, which is called Pick Your Project. And that's about 3 hours. Those are all of our large signs.
And to talk about then what happens. So I come for the workshop, get an overview, work on the board itself. And then the goal of this is to have a finished piece of art, or what's my goal after 3 hours?
Yeah. So at the end of the 3 hours, you have, like you see hanging up on the wall, you have a finished project that you can take home, hang on your wall, set on your coffee table, set out on your porch. We do wall signs, porch signs, trays, clocks, coat racks, porch planters. Those are all what we do in our regular workshops. We also do specialty workshops. So we're doing a cornhole workshop pretty soon. So you're going to make a full set of cornhole boards just for you to take home. So we have a lot of different things that we do, but everything pretty much centers around wood.
Do people then, they bring it home? Do they frame this at all? Do some people frame it?
Nope. We put a hook on the back of it,
Oh,
and
really?
it just hung right up on the wall. Yeah.
Well, show me if you can, behind you. I don't know if you can show it to me up close. Can you show me
Yeah.
some examples of finished projects?
Yeah. We'll walk up here a little
That'd
bit
be great.
closer. So here's one of our signs that you can actually put any state or city on it. That's one of our actual ones. This is made with 3 boards. This one's been dry brushed, so it's got like a white background on it, and then they painted this like khaki color on it. And then we have
even on that one, the next one. So the lettering, you have stuff that can help me with the lettering, or how does that get done so
yeah, that's
perfectly?
part of the stencil. It's actually part
Okay.
of the stencil. Yeah, so it comes out just nice.
Very cool. Yeah.
Same thing with this. This one has just been stained a nice, I believe this one's a dark walnut, and they've just painted the stencil in a nice white color on it. And again, this one, you can personalize it, so they could have picked any letter, any last name, and any date for it.
And then so people hang it, what, inside the home or outside the home, or wherever you want to hang it?
Yeah, both.
Okay, very cool. Show us
Yeah.
some of this. This is great.
So we have some, this is one of our smaller projects, but it's like our door, our coat racks. This is like a little hanger. You could put like keys or purses or something on it. We have signs that have framing as well. This is one of our frame signs. And again, there's like a smaller one that has the framing as well. These you could actually set on a shelf. You wouldn't necessarily have to hang them on the wall. You can see up here, I've got one up on the shelf, just sitting up there.
So if people want it framed after they finish it, you can help them with the framing process?
It's already framed. I'll give you a sneak peek. Here's a project that's getting ready to be made, and see the framing's already done on it, but it's completely raw piece of wood, ready for the customer to come in and make it their own.
That's incredible. I'm looking at this, that this
Yeah.
can be done in 3 hours. Do some projects take longer, or do they have to come back a second day or third day?
No, never. Nope. We get it all done within that 3 hours.
So you'll come away with a finished piece of art.
Yep.
And nice thing, it sounds like, so similar to the other kind of business we talked about, you'll also have a fun time doing that. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So-
That was why we did this, is we just really enjoy bringing people together, especially coming out of COVID. We felt like it was time for people to be able to get out and adventure again. And we just wanted a place where you could bring your girlfriends or your date or your family. Somebody might be in town visiting. We do a lot of bachelorette parties
I was
here.
going to
Asheville's
ask you.
quite a destination for that. So I do a lot of team building and corporate events as well. Your church group's coming up here to see the Biltmore, but they need a little activity to do the second day. They'll come and do board and brush. So yeah.
And you mentioned the process all done in 3 hours. How many people can participate in this at one time?
If we're doing it, the full size signs, I can do about 20 to 25 people. If we're doing the smaller signs, I can fit about 30 in here.
Okay. And what's the smallest group you've ever had?
I've had one person before. When we first opened, I was just happy to have somebody come and do a workshop. So typically, most of my workshops run about 3 to 4 is my minimum.
And on your workshops, do any of them come in, like, do you put the groups together, or they come with the group itself? In other words, if I'm interested in this and want to sign up for it, can I sign up for an existing workshop, or how does that work?
Yeah, we call them our public workshops, and that's
Right.
where anybody can sign up. So I'll get singles, just one-off people will come in, and I'll put them at a table with a couple other people. And by the end of the night, they're exchanging phone numbers and, exchanging pet sitter names and things like that. So it's a lot of fun to meet new people too.
And you also then, you mentioned it's similar to some of the other type of operations, that having a good time, you also have wine for folks. Is that part of the process?
Well, we're BYOB, so
Okay.
if you want to bring your wine or your beer, that's perfectly fine. We do soft drinks, and I always have a candy jar full of chocolate because you need chocolate.
So do people bring their own bottles?
Yep.
So
Yep.
very cool. Which is the nice thing about that, it also keeps the cost down for them. So if they don't want to serve wine or beer or something, they can just bring their own too.
Yes.
Talk about how people find out about you. In other words, you mentioned you do several different kinds of functions. How do you get the word out?
Yeah, so we are on Facebook and Instagram. We also have our own website, and we publish our calendar out there about 6 to 8 weeks out. And on the calendar, you'll see all the public workshops that are open. We pretty much do one every single Friday night, and then I try to do one on Saturday or Sunday. And then I leave open spaces for, like we have a bachelorette party coming in. I might have a team building group coming in, that kind of thing. But, and then besides our public pick your project workshops, I do specialty workshops as well, like the cornhole that I mentioned earlier. We're doing a glass etching workshop coming up. We're doing a terrarium workshop in July. So we've got different ones like that on the calendar so you can see them.
Do you ever have it? You mentioned bachelorette parties. Do you ever have a party for guys? Have you ever had guys come in?
I am happy to. I've done advertising for it. I have pictures of other studios that have done it, but we haven't had a bachelor party yet, but I'm happy to do it. I think this would be the greatest place to do that.
I'm thinking would be to bring your own beer, whatever. What's
Yeah.
the most unusual group of people you've ever had?
Oh, that's a good
Have you had
question.
anyone that kind of surprised you?
No, I would say no. The only thing that ever kind of surprises me sometimes is just the amount of alcohol that they might could consume and how really they get during the workshop. But I always make sure there's at least one person who's the DD and taking care of the group. But yeah, for the most part, everybody's great. I will say this. My kids groups used to scare me. I used to think, oh my gosh, I don't want to do kids, but kids are great. They listen to you. They do what you tell them to do. They don't have like these preconceived notions of what they're going to be doing. And they're just awesome. So I really do. We do a lot of kids' birthday parties as well, and those are a lot of fun.
What's the age limit that this range is?
I would say, I mean, you can kind of judge your kid, but usually 5 or 6 would be about the youngest. They just have, because for kids, they're pretty much just going to be dabbing and painting stencil. I do a few drop-off events. I have some mini kids camps I have throughout the summer. That's usually like a 6 to 12 range. I'll do some teenager groups as well. But we're trying out a toddler time, and where mom will come with the toddler, and that, if mom's there helping them, a 3 or 4-year-old can
And
do
on
it
the
with
other
mom.
extreme, what's the oldest group you've had?
Oh, we had a group from Atlanta a year or two ago, and they were pretty much the median age on that was probably 70 or 75. And they did the time crunch mini sign, so a little bit smaller, but they had so much fun. I don't think they even cared like what their projects turned out. They just enjoyed it. We actually packed in 36 of them into the studio with some extra tables. So yeah.
I was just 75, so I'd be eligible. I could still do this.
Yes.
Okay,
I've had a few older. Yes. We even have a table somebody can sit at. So you don't even have to sit up on a stool.
okay. And if you would, Lynette, just behind you, can you highlight some of those? I'm very impressed with the board behind you. You have what's the tools? Could you explain some of those tools and how they're
Yeah,
used?
so we've used hammers and nails and screws to do the distressing. There's also, you'll see right around in this area is our meat mallet. Yeah, we use a culinary tool in woodworking, but the little divots on the back of it make some fun little marks on your project. And then a lot of what the rest of this stuff are, we have electric drills for when they put their projects together. Anything that has multiple boards, we have supports that hold it together on the back. There's also, I can't believe I'm saying this, there's glitter up there. Yes, we allow people to use glitter.
My wife like that.
Yeah, it's just once the first person used it, it just became a part of the studio. So yes, we have glitter up there. We have ribbon. A few of the projects, have ribbon components to it. And then we have screwdrivers and flathead screwdrivers and our needle nose pliers for when we're putting the wire hook on the back of your project.
You mentioned the drills. Do you have some folks who have never worked with some of these tools and you guide them through the process?
Oh yeah. Oh, there's like two extremes. They're either scared to death to use it and they're like, no, you do it. And you're like, no, and you coax them in and you show them and then they're like, oh, okay, I can do this. And then there's the others that are like, I've been dying to get my hands on one of those. So yeah, they really do enjoy using the drills.
You mentioned that somebody comes back a couple times, so it's kind of cool, I guess. There's a repeat business on this that people come back more than once.
Yeah, and that's been something that's been interesting about Asheville. So I would say about half of our customers are our locals, and we do get them to repeat because we come out with new releases every month, and so they're like, oh, that's a new porch sign. I want to get that one to put out for Christmas. I've already got one for October. Let's do one, for more of the Christmas season. But the other half of my customers are out of towners. I can't believe how many people come and then make board and brush one of their things that they do while they're in Asheville. But what's neat about it is they take this home decor memory piece back with them of what they made when they were visiting Asheville. So I just think that's a really neat component.
And what's also neat is that some of them actually come back, more than once.
Yes.
Talk about something else that would seem to be a lot of fun. And I would think that this could be a fun, I guess, fundraiser if somebody wanted to raise funds for their organization. How does that work, or how do they do that?
Yeah, we typically do that with a nonprofit or a school PTO, PTA, or with a sports team. And what it is, if you book a night that you're going to let your organization members come to, whatever the proceeds are from that night, we give back 20% to the organization. So if you're bringing in your softball team to help raise funds for your new uniforms next year, all the parents can sign up, come in, and then whatever we make that night, 20% will then go back to that team. So that's basically how our fundraisers work.
And talk about this, also something you mentioned, and I can see it as you're talking about it, this being for a group, especially a good team building exercise. Why is that so?
Yeah, team building is team building can go a couple of different ways. So what usually happens with team building is it's just a chance for them to come in here, relax, chill. It's kind of like their day off to do something fun. But we've had some groups come in where their team building day has been a series of events where they've gone out and done different things in the community, or they've had some special little activities and they make board and brush part of that. And basically they're just coming in together. We usually put several of the tables together so they're all at one big giant table, and they just talk and get to know each other on more of a social level than, being in the office and only talking about work all the time.
I can also see this being a cool opportunity. I don't know if you've done this, but for a singles night kind of thing. Have you done any singles events?
No, I have not been brave enough to try that yet, but I have gotten a few people that have mentioned that that would be kind of fun. So I encourage them to come to, we do like bingo and we've tried a bunko. We do trivia nights. So I encourage them to come to some things like that. But yeah, I haven't done a specific singles night yet.
What's a trivia night? What's
So
the
trivia,
idea?
we'll do a trivia night that's based off, like we might do a Disney, something
Oh,
that's Disney questions or a friends night or something. But yeah, we'll do different little trivia, like maybe 80s, movies or something. Yeah.
but they're still doing their project work, and
Yeah.
then you do
Yeah.
trivia as a result.
Yep. In between each round, like between sanding and staining, we might ask them 5 questions. And then and at the end of the night, I tally it all up. Sometimes we'll
Oh,
play individual against each other or table against each other. But yeah, they have a lot of fun with that.
now you also do, and I give you credit for this, but you do this business with your husband as well.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so
Yeah. He's
at
my
every,
soundboard.
at every night, are the two of you there, or sometimes just you or he? Is this something you have two people at?
No, one thing I really wanted to do is to support the community. And part of one of the ways that I do that is by having, I have some employees, we have about 7, and several of them just needed like a really flexible part-time job that they could do, and not be flexible, I guess is the word for it. So some of them are available during the day, some of them are available at night. And I have workshops at all different times. So my husband takes a back seat so that we can let some of our staff do some of the workshops, which is nice. And it gives me the freedom to spend more time on like social media and things like that, knowing that they're taking care of actually instructing. So yeah.
But which is kind of cool. So at every workshop, though, instructors, there'll usually be more than one instructor. There'll be more than one person helping you.
Yeah, we'll have one person will be the instructor, and then we'll have 1 or 2 table assistants, depending on how many people are in the workshop.
And so that's typically, like you said, if there are 30 people, you may have more assistants or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And for Lynette, you pointed out behind you, I want to see if anything else, you pointed out the stains on the my right-hand side,
Yep.
those stains. If you could bring
Yep.
it up closer, let me just see that again. So those
Yeah.
are what they
We'll
can
take a
get.
look. So those are all of our stains.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And this,
And
by
then
the way, yeah, go ahead. And then hit the board
those
to
are
the
our,
left. Yeah.
yeah, we call those painting techniques. And it's just after you stain a project, you can then do what's called a painting technique where you might add a white background to it, or you might want to do a wash on it. But you can just stain your project and paint your stencil on it. Or before you put your stencil on, you can do a background. That's basically what our painting techniques are. It's just adding a background.
Now, were you trained in all this? You didn't know going into it, I guess. So you got trained when you got with this organization?
Yeah, some of it we learned in the 3 years that we were customers. And so we just went to several different workshops and made several different projects. And then once we decided to become studio owners and were accepted into the franchise, we went up to the headquarters, which is just outside of Milwaukee in Wisconsin. And we did some more like hands-on training kind of learning. But a lot of it's been, I would say, OJT. I didn't know what a wash was. So you find out what the wash is and you come home and you just practice it and play with it. Yeah.
How long has the organization been in existence? Not your particular business, but the franchise.
They've been franchising for about 7 or 8 years now. So yeah, quite
Okay.
a while.
And talk about the reason, I guess, why you chose the franchising route, which seems to have been working out well for you. But what was your thinking behind it? I mean, you could have, I guess, tried to do it individually, but you chose to go with the franchise. How come?
Yeah. So remember before when I said I was musically
Right.
artistic, not artistic? Yeah. Yeah, that's because there's no way I could come up with these thousands of these different projects and designs and stuff. I'm not a graphic artist. That's just not in my wheelhouse. And the franchise Board and Brush itself just has a great creative arts department where they can create all of that and pull from different people that's what they're gifted in. And so that was definitely a big push for us, is knowing we didn't have to create the designs. We just had to run the business. So yeah, that's the big reason.
And in behind you, did they suggest as to what kind of tools you should have or what you should get
Yep.
individually? And then I guess you're always adding to it, you said?
Not so much. I mean, I may add different kinds of glitters or ribbons or something like that, but for the most part, each studio is pretty much set up the same way and has a lot of the same equipment. So, which is really nice. So we get a lot of customers that, have been to other board and brushes in different states, and they can walk into any board and brush, and except for like the layout and a few like decorating things like that, for the most part, they're all the same. And so it's very familiar to you when you walk in, and you feel like, oh, I've been here before. I'm ready to go, you know?
That's pretty cool. So you do this out of your house? This is where you live?
Oh, no, no, no. We are actually on East Tunnel Road, just
Oh,
down from the VA hospital in the
okay.
little, it's called Four Seasons Shopping Center.
Okay. And because it looks like a pretty nice sized space you have there, that you
Yeah.
get 30 plus people in there. It's pretty
Yep.
cool. If folks want to get more information about your business, the Board and Brush Creative Studios, what's the best bet?
So if you go to boardandbrush.com/Asheville, that's our actual website. And then on Facebook, we are Board and Brush Asheville NC for Facebook and Instagram. You can also email us asheville@boardandbrush.com. And I say that way because the and is always spelled out A-N-D.
Which is unusual. And so that's best bet to get more information. Check out the information, and then I guess
Yep.
call you or send you an email and get a follow-up on that.
Yeah, you go on. So basically, one of the questions I get a lot from people is, hey, can I just sign up and then pick out my project when I get there? And that's a no-go. And that's because, number one, a lot of our stuff has to be personalized. So we need to know what you want to put on it. And then number two, we've got to prepare the wood and the stencils. We want everything here ready to go when you come in the door. And so if you're walking in and telling us what you want, we have to scramble and get it all ready. It just doesn't work. And so that's why we require you to pre-register ahead of time. That's why our calendar's online. So you can pick your date, pick your workshop, and then pick your project, and then come on in. And what I always tell people as well is, if you've got 4 or 5 friends and you've got a date that you don't see we have a workshop on there, then email me or call me, and maybe I can, if I'm available or if I have an instructor available, we'll open up a workshop so you guys can all come in together.
And I'm saying this, I assume the same kind of thing is true, that if they want to sign up, they're not sure on what kind of project to do, you'll guide them through the process, or you'll help them choose the project?
Yeah, I've had several people call me or email me asking, saying, hey, I saw this one and I saw this one. Is there a way we can kind of put them together? And we'll work with you as best as we can. We're limited we can't do too much changing of a project
Sure.
where, so it's not the same project anymore, but I'm willing to, sometimes they don't want their name on it. They want it to say Happy Fall Y'all instead of, the Taylor family. So things like that I can do. So I get people that reach out all the time, asking, can we make this little tweak to it? So yeah, always ask. I may or may not be able to, but at least ask.
Moving forward, what do you see for the next 3 years?
Growth. We've just continued each month. We continue to do a little better than the previous month. And part of that is just getting the word out. So that helps our growth, and just letting people know that we're here. Advertising today is so different than it was 25 years ago. And so we really heavily rely on social media with Facebook and Instagram. And so as we just continue to grow in that area and create new projects and fund different things that people would like to use in their home or use as decor or make as gifts for people. It doesn't even have to be for yourself.
And in terms of getting the word out, now you're also on the Blaine's World webcast, and you're also going to be in my blog, so we're gonna get the word out that way. And
Yes.
I want to thank you very much for being my guest on this edition of Blaine's World webcast. But I'd also like to thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti. Hopefully we'll bump into you sometime in person, in real life or real time, as opposed to on the internet. So again, thanks very much, and cool business, and did a great
Yep.
job explaining it. Thanks very much.
Thanks.